Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on Ecommerce Espresso. It's great to see so many familiar faces and familiar names returning for this first episode. My name is Zach Priest, I'm a marketer here at LoyaltyLion. And look, if this is the first time that you're joining us, you're not alone because it's the first time I'm hosting. So welcome to Ecommerce Espresso, the webinar that's shorter than your coffee break. To keep these episodes quick and as insightful as possible, we don't hold a Q&A at the end. But if you do have any questions at all, anything you'd like to ask us or our guest, you can tweet at us at LoyaltyLionHQ on Twitter. Just use the hashtag #EcommerceEspresso and we'll get back to you right away. So without further ado, let's jump straight in before our coffees get too cold. We have with us today Veta, who's the head of marketing at Omnisend. Veta, would you like to tell the audience a bit about yourself and a little bit about Omnisend?
Hey guys, so happy to be here at the Ecommerce Espresso with some coffee.
It's the only way to do it.
Yeah, we'll see if I'm gonna manage to drink that during our call. Yeah, but happy to be here. And yeah, as Isaac said, so I'm Veta, head of marketing here at Omnisend. And Omnisend is omnichannel marketing automation platform, specifically tailored for e-commerce. And what we do is basically pushing and helping merchants to go beyond a standard email marketing. So we help to integrate different kind of channels, starting from email as well, but then we add SMS, we add push notifications, we add WhatsApp and all the other channels that can be added under one platform and used in order to reach your customers and of course drive more sales. So that's basically what we do. And me as a marketer, so I've been a marketer for more than 8 years, and in fact I've been running also a small D2C brand, so that helped me to really gain very valuable experience in terms of e-commerce marketing that now is really valuable for me while working, and helping for other merchants to really drive more sales and build better relationships with their customers.
Yeah, there's nothing better than that real experience of having to run your own business. So it's absolutely outstanding to have you with us today. I'm really excited to chat with you about the questions we've got coming up. So here's our first one of the day. What channel do you think is the one to watch in 2020 and why?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And when I started to think about that, it was like the answer came very quickly because if you're really looking what's happening in like e-commerce marketing or like in even digital marketing area, you can notice that there is one channel that's like really started booming right now, and that's SMS or text messages. So what we really see is that this channel that was basically, it's nothing new in the market. It's something that we've been using for already some time, but right now it's really experiencing some kind of renaissance, and we see that more and more marketing automation platforms are starting to introduce that, and also more and more marketers are starting to use that as well to reach their customers. And that's not a surprise because really SMS is the channel that helps you to reach your customers very quickly because everyone of us is like with their phones right now, and, having them in their hands. So basically we see that it really helps you to reach them straight away, and that's especially important when you have some kind of time-sensitive information you want to deliver. So if we think about e-commerce, so that could be like shipping information, that could be some kind of order confirmation or something like that, or even cart abandonment, which up until now we usually used to do email for that. But if you want to reach your customers really effectively and on the really right time, text messages could be really that channel that can bring you that effectiveness. And in fact, I know there is one research done that I think it was 90% of customers are basically expecting to receive text messages from different brands when it comes to different kind of not usual, but like important information related to the purchase. But only about 15% of brands actually use this channel. So we really see what kind of potential is there. So I think that in 2020, that's definitely gonna be one of those channels that marketers will start using more, and then both parts, so marketers and their customers will definitely benefit from both parts.
Yeah, of course. It's funny, we don't necessarily expect to be, as marketers, to be always gathering phone numbers or reaching our customers through SMS, but there is that level of immediacy there that's so important to customers, especially around all the transactional messaging. It's something that with all channels, I think it's a great opportunity for brands to start using SMS in ways that, as we said, are transactional, but also things like reminders on loyalty points and balance updates and things around their profile with the business or with the company, with the brand, that helps keep them engaged. And as I said, with all channels, the best way to start using them is to make them a part of your omni-channel planning, which actually brings me to my next question, which is what's the most common mistake you see stores making with omni-channel marketing?
Yeah, so in fact, Zach, you touched a really good point that uh, email is kind of a very usual way of communicating different things related with loyalty programs as well. But what you can do, you can basically combine different channels under one, for example, automated flow, which then brings us to like real omnichannel experience. Because, for example, you can send maybe an email explaining more and giving more context, but then you can send an SMS which brings more urgent information for the same kind of trigger or the same goal. So here, answering to the second question is really what are those most common mistakes? And probably the main one, I would say, is the fact that merchants are still not making a difference between omnichannel and multi-channel. And in fact, usually what merchants are doing is multi-channel marketing or multi-channel communication than an omnichannel one. And let me tell you why there is this difference. So we usually hear, when we talk with merchants, we usually hear that when we ask, are you interested in omnichannel marketing? Have you done some kind of experiments? Are you trying to do that? Because now this omnichannel is kind of buzzing around the market,
Mm.
So what we usually hear is that, so I do. So I send email campaigns. Then I also use maybe Facebook Messenger for some kind of information and communication. Then I use some website push notifications for other goals. So they use different kind of channels, but they do that like on a bulk way.
Yeah.
That they are doing that and sending that information, not thinking about like personalized approach and per like unified message. So here, when you really start thinking and you want to do omni-channel marketing automation and start kind of experimenting on that, the very important thing is that you would really start thinking from the customer perspective, not from your own, And by saying that, I mean that you should really think in which customer journey your customer is and how you can use different channels to basically help them to move from one stage of their customer journey to another one. So let's take like, again, a very usual, the most common kind of use case in e-commerce, cart abandonment, which can be done, again, in a good omnichannel way, when we would, for example, would be trying to kind of recover that abandoned cart, firstly sending an email. Then if we see that that's not working, maybe sending a message through Facebook Messenger, and even maybe adding a text message if, I don't know, like our product is like really expensive enough so that we could use some more expensive channels for that as well. So, but this means that we are not like, sending different messages at the same time, but we are really thinking about the customer, where that customer is right now, and how we can leverage different channels to make the same goal, to help to complete the same goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I thought it was a really interesting idea as well around using the channel that kind of matches not just the experience, but the expected experience and level of quality of the product or the level of quality of the experience. So how you might contact someone or how they expect to be contacted will change based on maybe how much they're spending on the type of product that you sell. So for example, if you're selling something that's of a much higher value, you might expect to be sent more often, more SMSs in a more immediate way, as opposed to just getting one, say, confirmation email. I also really liked what you said about the fact that omnichannel really is thinking about how your customers move through those different channels, not in a very straightforward way. But the customer expectation is that they'll get the same brand experience wherever they are. One of our clients, Anne-Marie Skincare, as part of their loyalty program, invites their customers to join a private Facebook group, which Anne-Marie Skincare helps curate that group, and their customers can share tips and anecdotes on their skincare regime. But really what that group also helps Anne-Marie do is personalize their product and brand and messaging experiences, because then they can start to use the language and understand the concerns of their customers outside of just the ordering part or the purchase part of the process. So making sure that their messaging makes sense throughout a customer's life cycle in a truly omnichannel way with that single customer view. We find that, we just hear that that's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. We also find that, some of our customers are quite surprised when they start joining up their channels, how personalized they can make their messaging, because they actually know a little bit more about their customers than maybe they thought. If they see everything as siloed, then unless they bring all of that information together, that's really where true personalization can really begin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and probably here I can just add, that, that's a really good point, because if you're using different kind of, even tools for different channels, let's say you're using one tool just for email, then another tool, I don't know, maybe for marketing, from Facebook marketing communication, some others for text messages, exactly what happens is that you are kind of losing data about your customers, because you are using that in like isolated way. But if you start kind of combining everything under one roof, then when in fact you see the real value and the real the real beauty, because indeed you know so much about your customer, and you can add everything under one roof. Like it can be, like all the website behavior, it can be all how that customer is like engaging with your communication, how that customer is like using your loyalty program as well. Like you can combine all that data, and then you can use that data in different channels, but you will do that in a unified way, which means that the communication will get way more personalized, and this way more effective.
Yeah, and you'll definitely start looking at your customers with that single customer viewpoint, as opposed to thinking them of almost different people across different channels, and really they're having one single brand experience. So why don't we move on to our last question, which is, what is your top tip for merchants looking to build loyalty across different channels?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good, kind of a bit summarizing probably question. And here I will get back to the same point that I was speaking while discussing like multi-channel and omni-channel thing, because I think that first thing, thinking about loyalty across different channels, really thinking about unified experience for your customer. So we still have like quite a lot of situations when we see that merchants, especially those that have like, online shop, and then they have offline brick and mortar shop as well. They kind of still separate those two channels, and it's not always their loyalty, let's say even program, is the same on those both channels, which means that they do one things for customers that are coming in their physical store, and then they do totally different things for those that are shopping online. While for customers, in fact, that's the same brand, so they kind of expect the same experience, and they expect totally the same, loyalty program, totally the same benefits, rewards, and all that kind of stuff. So I know like it takes time. You have to build like the stack for that, and you have to be ready. But still, I think that's really something that merchants should be aiming for if they want to have like this personalized experience, because then we'll definitely have that single view of a customer, because it won't be kind of scattered between different channels that you are using, for selling your goods, your items. So yeah, I would say that is like the most important tip for the merchants if they really wanna start doing loyalty across different channels. And then thinking about like communication, probably already, not like, because yeah, this one is like the most important, like it's at the core, like think about your loyalty program on different channels, but think about communication. I would also like really recommend start using your loyalty kind of milestone or insights that you can get from your loyalty program on different channels, not just email. Because email is like, I know, it's the most common channel and everyone is used to that, everyone feels like comfortable with that, they know how to use that. But in fact, so what we already discussed, the fact is that customers are expecting like communication not only through email, they are willing to get, and they're like kind of waiting to get information through other channels as well. So using them for like moments when it's relevant, I would say that, yeah, at least from like small experiments and small steps, that's definitely something that merchants could start doing as well.
Yeah, I mean, relevancy is just so important. It's almost frustrating as a customer when you feel like the brand that you're having an experience with, they have some information about you that could be useful in this interaction, but because you're either in store or the online and offline experiences aren't joined up, there's a mismatch of information. One of our clients, 100% Pure, does a really good job of connecting their loyalty program through Shopify POS. So that means that the store assistants can see the customer's points balance when they're at the register, and if there's an opportunity to say, oh, you've actually got a bunch of points, you have an award or a reward, that you can that you're entitled to a free product or a free offer or a free opportunity, or just something that gives the shop assistants an opportunity to delight that customer, but it also makes sure that the customer feels like they're getting a consistent experience across all channels, in all circumstances. Because customers are really savvy. They know what they know that brands are trying to deliver really consistent joined up experiences. So when you don't have when you feel like it's not connected up, it immediately kind of breaks that spell a little bit. I had just an example, funnily enough, just a very personal example yesterday, when I had a poor experience with a cinema brand, and they sent me, to make up for that poor experience, they very kindly sent me a free voucher, and I went to use that voucher yesterday on their online booking app, and it was like, oh no, you can't use that voucher online. I was like, oh, I'll just call them and book. Oh no, you can't use the voucher on the phone either. I was like, well, this is kind of a useless experience for me, because when was the last time that I actually just turned up at the cinema and chose a film off the board and then decided to book there and there? Like it just felt, considering I'd done the whole customer service experience via online channels, like through social media and email, and now they've given me something kind of archaic almost as a sorry and a please keep using us as a business. So it just felt really not joined up at all. I almost felt sorry for their team, because that must happen to them all the time. So yeah, you couldn't be more right. Being able to provide that joined up experience is so important.
Exactly. So that's like really, really good example of you, like your personal one. But yeah, like, and I would expect that probably, cinema is not even a small brand that, or a small, company that is doing like this kind of disconnected to kind of communication and operational flows. But yeah, like, for sure, we are expecting to have everything in a like unified way, and we see this as a just one, brand that it doesn't matter where it is. Like, is it like online or is it offline? On the app, like, or something like that. We expect that this would work on all the channels in the same way. And yeah, that's the reality we have right now. So we have to adjust for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we often, I think you would see it all the time as well, that especially businesses that have built an online experience, they can get really good at their online tech, but the consistent delivery of that same kind of technology experience just doesn't happen across other channels, especially because often the e-commerce part of the business is always using the newest innovations and the newest efficiencies that customers can get really used to working with the brand only online, and then they come in store and those same efficiencies might not always be there. So if you can find ways to join those two things up, it will lead to a much better amount of retention with your customers, because they know that they'll get a consistent brand experience.
Exactly. And I think that here, like this new wave of like all D2C brands are already doing like really good job, because like those brands like Everlane or Glossier, like those are really, but like those are digitally native brands that have some kind of offline presence as well. But these brands, I would say, are the ones that could be like followed as good examples how you can combine those things, because you go to their shop, you basically do the purchase just like you would do that online, and then you're getting like some emails with like their even them like their loyalty programs or stuff like that, but that everything is very, very combined. So probably, yeah, those could be really those nice, good examples that other e-commerce brands could follow when they want to have this unified experience.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was obviously was looking at Omnisend's case studies and examples, and the work that Omnisend shows off around basically making sure that voice, that the brand voice, whether it's coming from messaging through different channels or the people that are using that same messaging either in store or online, from that brand is always really, really consistent. And it's such a good brand cohesion opportunity, and using different channels to communicate and using the right channel at the right time. You spoke about immediacy and relevancy. Using those channels always at the right time and the most relevant messaging in those channels means that the brand feels more, your brand will feel more human, and it will just have a much better connection with customers, which of course will lead to better loyalty.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's all we've got time for, trying to keep things quick and easy. Hopefully everybody's coffees aren't getting too cold. Veta, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this episode of E-Commerce Espresso, and I hope everyone found everything you had to say really valuable, and that you've come away with some great ideas and insights. As always, we'll be sharing the on-demand recording online, so don't worry if you've missed something, and if somebody you know has missed something that you think that they'd be able to get something out of this, please send it along to them. And if you have any questions for either me or Veta, just tweet at us, LoyaltyLion HQ, using the hashtag #EcommerceEspresso. One last big thank you to you, Veta. It's been absolutely outstanding having you on. Is there anything you'd like to say before we finish up?
Yeah, so really, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure sharing some experience, and know-how with e-commerce merchants. And yeah, hopefully that we'll start with small steps going to omnichannel.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just start planning little small steps, start testing, and suddenly everybody will be omnichannel experts.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much again, Veta. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you soon next time.